46 years ago on this day, Prime Minister of India Indira Gandhi had declared emergency. The reason, a judgment by the Allahabad High Court that held her guilty on the charge of misuse of government machinery for her election campaign against Raj Narayan in the parliamentary elections of 1971. Mrs. Indira Gandhi challenged this in the Supreme Court that upheld the decision that barred her from contesting polls for another 6 years and unseated her from her Lok Sabha seat. Result: emergency declared on 25th June 1975. Here's a quick look at some newspapers during the emergency. Media censorship was notoriously used by the Congress government in 1975, with action taken against those that refused to fall in line. Opposition leaders were thrown in jail. Raj Narayan, Jai Prakash Narayan, Morarji Desai were arrested under Maintenance of Internal Security Act. Leaders like Atal Bihari Vajpayee, George Fernandez, and many others were also held. Newspapers had also reported atrocities committed by the then Congress government during the emergency. American newspaper St. Petersburg Times reported on 1st August 1975 about the arrest of Maharani Gayatri Devi of Jaipur, who was a known outspoken critic of Indira Gandhi. It also mentioned how Indian press had blacked out any criticism of India's censorship by foreign governments. So brutal was the censorship that the Indian Express published a blank editorial to protest against the emergency on June 28, 1975. Even the Constitution that many cite often today was not spared. 42nd Amendment of the Indian Constitution was brought in, a widely criticized move that attempted to reduce the power of the Supreme Court and High Courts to pronounce upon the constitutional validity of laws and gave sweeping powers to the Prime Minister's office. It gave the Parliament unchecked power to amend any parts of the Constitution. This was the period when the words socialist and secular were forced into the preamble. One cannot imagine, but even fundamental rights were suspended. Yes, that happened. Let's now take a look at what today's champions of minority rights were doing during the emergency, documented by some newspapers. 50 people of the Muslim community were killed during a forced sterilization drive in Muzaffarnagar. Also, the tragedy at Turkman Gate, where authorities committed excesses during the demolition of alleged illegal structures, were reported by the Indian Express. Well, these are just some of the incidents that could get reported, considering the way press freedom was stifled during the 21-month horror that was the emergency. The actual scale must have been larger.